What's up, Schmoeville? Welcome to episode 16 of the Don't Be a Beardo podcast with my special guest, Miss Movies herself, Brianne Chandler. Before we get into the show, I just want to mention once again that we have a whole network of shows on the SK Plus YouTube channel and the Schmoes Know iTunes feed. We have The Wanger Show, where Cobster, Cody, and I talk about all things movies, television, radio, video games, Nintendo 64, pizza, and I think we had an episode about beer one time. We also have the Sight and Sound Weekly podcast. We have the After Schmo podcast that talks about everything Schmoes know. We have the Outlaw Nation podcast with John Roca and also the Schmoedown Rundown. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe on the YouTube channel and the iTunes feed. And share these shows with your friends, families, and colleagues. Hey, Schmoeville, before we get started, I just wanted to talk to you real quick about MeUndies.com. MeUndies are simply the softest, most comfortable underwear you'll ever wear. Once you try them, you won't want to wear anything else, unless you're naked or in your swimsuit. For every other second of your life, there's MeUndies. Every pair of MeUndies is sustainably sourced and made from micromodal, a fabric that's 3 times softer than cotton. If you're used to buying packs of uncomfortable, boring underwear that only come in white, gray, black, or tan, MeUndies will change everything. Because MeUndies comes in all kinds of colors and patterns, they release a new limited edition pattern each month that always sells out. This month is a rainbow confetti print called Celebrate. Try MeUndies today. Go get the Celebrate pattern before they're all gone at MeUndies.com/beard, and you'll save 20% off your first pair. You have to feel for yourself to see why MeUndies has sold over 5 million pairs to date. And if you don't love your first pair of MeUndies, they're free. Get 20% off your first pair, plus free shipping at MeUndies.com/beard right now. MeUndies.com/beard, not Beardo, beard. One more time, that's MeUndies.com/beard. And here it is, episode 16 of the Don't Be a Beardo podcast with my conversation with Brianne Chandler, a.k.a. Miss Movies.
Shut up and sit down.
I'm just going to get right into it with Miss Movies, Brianne Chandler.
Brianne, that's my name.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Brian?
I'm good.
Brian and Brianne. Oh my goodness.
Ooh, I didn't even think about that till right now.
Yeah. What's your middle name?
Nicholas.
Oh, mine's Patricia. So if you were Patrick, that would have been crazy.
You're a BPC?
Yes.
Do you mind giving out your maiden name?
It also C. So it was Crowley.
Crowley.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's Irish. It would have been O'Crowley. But when my ancestors came over, they dropped the O because they didn't want to be discriminated against. So therefore,
they want to be too Irish.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know about my show. I do. You know about my show?
Yeah.
Have you listened to it at all?
I've listened to bits and pieces of this show. I'm going to be honest.
I
haven't listened to an entire episode because they are long.
Yeah.
And my time span in terms of listening to things has gotten a lot shorter. And that's because I have children.
Yeah.
So that's what happens. It's like, okay, do I have time?
Yeah.
Oh, 10 minutes. Cool.
2 10, 20-minute blocks of free time.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I know you from Schmoes.
Yes.
Have you known them a long time?
I have known them. I want to say, let me backtrack a bit. It was, my daughter was born in 2010. I met them in 2011, probably November-ish of 2011.
How'd you meet them?
Through Catherine Reitman. She was their co-host for a time.
Okay.
And I went to USC with her and had some classes with her.
So they were doing, were they like in the Schmoes Know live show?
No.
They didn't have that yet?
Not yet. This was when they were like out of Christian's house.
Yeah.
This was, they were out of maybe his house and that's pretty much it. I kind of met them through Twitter-ish. Like wanted to see if they would come on my show. At that time I had Miss Movies Minute, which I don't have anymore. And that was my first podcast, which actually did really pretty well on iTunes, which was shocking. And it was mainly because I was on the Film Vault, which at the time was part of the Adam Carolla network. So there were people that were like, oh, who's Miss Movies? I should check out what she does.
There wasn't a podcast one back then?
That was kind of just starting up.
Oh, okay.
Stuff like that, yeah.
So, but like back in 2010, podcasts weren't very ubiquitous as they are now?
I guess. More 2011, but like, yeah, it's weird.
Like
it's
everyone
weird.
has a podcast.
They do. Because it's so easy now.
Yeah.
I mean, it was easy back then, but it was a little bit harder in terms of like, you had to do a little bit of like programming to get yours up on iTunes before now it's really easily accessible with like SoundCloud and stuff.
Yeah, that's how I became like a lot better with it. But I remember first starting out with a podcast, you have to create an RSS feed, which has like computer coding. And it's, it's like, why can't I just upload my MP3 to this and to iTunes and just play it? Yeah. Like, no, you need an RSS feed.
Exactly. All these hoops you got to jump through, and then finally they like streamlined it, so now it's even easier. So now everyone has a podcast, and I get it. It's fun.
It is.
Why not?
Yeah, people want to say things,
right?
Yeah, people want to be heard and be seen. I guess.
Sure.
So, what was your the first podcast you did?
The first one that I did solo was called Miss Movies Minute, and it was just basically like, let's talk about movies. Like, and I just would have random friends of mine over. You know, it was just a real homemade show. But I had people on, like I had Mark and Christian on. I had both of them solo as well. I also had Josh McCouga on and Justine Marino, who was part of this podcast group called Three's Too Much, which Mark Ellis was also a part of. Yeah. I don't know if you know that show. Yeah. That was a fun one.
So you've known them for a while, like for 7 years. So do you remember your first impressions of them? Mark and Christian?
Because I mainly just met them over like Skype.
Oh.
So I didn't meet them in person until like, oh gosh, I don't even know when I first met them in person.
Oh, so you didn't go on the show when they were doing the show out of like Christian's basement or something?
Yeah, I had never been on their show until like a few months ago.
Oh,
yeah, that was
really?
My first time.
The live show you did?
I had gone to the show at AfterBuzz.
Oh, okay.
And that was about it, like to visit.
So I remember your first time was on the show and we played the game and everything. That was like your first official as Schmoes? Really?
Correct. That was my first official.
After you've known them for like 20 years?
Right. Yeah. I mean, what took them so long? Now, the thing is like when they first met me, I was very new on the mic to my own show. So I wasn't as seasoned and as groomed as I am now. Exactly. No, but now like I take hosting classes and I've learned a lot about like how to improve my own shows. And so I feel like that's been a big help in terms of like getting myself out there, especially when I switched over to video. Yeah. That like changed the game for 6 Degrees of Feature Film, which is the podcast that I do now. We could call it a web series if we'd like.
Ooh, with Stacey Howard.
With Stacey Howard.
Yeah, it is a completely different beast when you have to like address the camera and like set up everything as opposed to just a conversation.
Right.
Yeah. So what does like hosting class teach you? I've never taken one. I should take one.
There's so many things that hosting class teaches you. First of all, for the class that I take, you have to go to a boot camp, which is over a weekend. And it's like 6 hours the first day, 6 hours the second day. And then from there, the director will invite you to be a part of their school, or maybe they'll just give you some sort of like recommendations for what you should do next. Maybe they won't necessarily invite you to their school.
What is it? Just like a place in LA and like Silver Lake
or something?
Yeah,
it's called Become a Host. Really? It's in Los Angeles, about Olympic and Bundy, if you were to look for it on a map. Yeah. Yeah, it's run by Marky Costello, who I believe she represents the Schmoes. I'm not sure about that completely, but she talks about them all the time. Loves them. She uses them as examples all the time, and she's like, "And you're in that thing they do, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, sometimes." And then I'm like, But
what's the boot camp? What's the 6 hour thing?
It's learning the basics about hosting. So I could give you all the tools, but I don't know if I'm legally allowed to.
Oh, that's fine.
So, I wish I could. I can tell you certain things, like you learn how to piggyback off of the people that are speaking. You learn how to, what's the most important part about hosting is listening and like listening to the other person and not worrying about what the next thing you are going to say, but use what they're saying to make the point that you're going to make.
Like build upon it and then like create a flow with it.
Yeah, creating the flow is what you want to do. You want to have that fluidity. And so this is what we work on all the time.
Do you ever feel like when you have a guest on, you go to a dead end and you can't like complete the flow or like continue? That sounds gross, but continue the flow.
Continuing the flow is not really, I mean, it's kind of easy with the piggyback because then you can just go into random thoughts. And the whole thing is like, you're supposed to say what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Like she wants you to remove your filter. So that way you are just being present in the moment and not thinking like, is this going to offend someone? Like you have to not worry about that. And that's kind of a skill that you really do have to work at because it is hard to let that guard down. I've gotten a lot better at that.
Like
that's probably why I'm a heel now, right?
What do you mean heel?
A heel in the Schmoedown because...
Did you turn heel? Is that...
I mean, do you keep up with the show? What's going on, Brian?
I haven't really.
Okay.
I know I follow the show, but I don't follow like the whole behind the scenes thing. Like the teams and the factions and all that. But I just watched Makuga's thing today against the Godfather guy. I don't even know their names. McWeenie
is his name.
Okay.
McDreamy. Yes, we could go into Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah. So you are like part of the Lions Den now?
No.
What's the heel mean then?
Just means that I'm a bad guy.
Okay.
I'm a bad guy, you know.
So
I don't see it as a bad guy. I see it as being sassy and calling people out on their shit.
Like who'd you call out?
I mean, just well, I can't say about today because like you know, it might not air. I don't know when it'll air. So there's things like that.
Okay. But you're not, so there's different like bad guys now. There's Lions Den, and now are you part of like a team or faction?
We kind of have a little thing going on. It's myself, Stacey Howard, and Jay Washington.
Oh yeah, I've seen him like represent you, like speaking for you and stuff like that.
Correct.
So, but like, is it a heel if you're doing well? Like, if you're doing good, aren't you the good guy? Like, don't you want to be the winner? That's
winner.
How I see it.
Everyone wants to be a winner, I think, but I don't know. I'm not sure if. See, I don't necessarily see it as like a bad guy, good guy. Like when I finished my match with Perry and I went through and did all the interviews and stuff, and Christian's like, "Oh, good, we have our first female heel." I was like, "Wait a minute, what do you mean? What are you talking about? I just came up with this. I'm doing a performance here. Like I'm performing." What do you mean that I'm a bad guy now?
So you weren't being yourself. You were like performing.
It's a performance. People don't get that with the Schmoedown. Like there is part performance, part competition, which is like where you like are really showing your skills.
Where it's real.
Yeah.
It's not a fixed trivia game.
Correct.
Like you're showing off what you know.
Part storylines. So there's those factors. Those are performances. Like wrestling is a performance, right?
Yeah, but they have fake names though. But you're using your real name.
Well, my alter ego is Miss Movies, kind of.
Has that been around since 2010?
That has been around since 2004. Miss Movies has been around since 2004 because I started a website called Hit or Miss Movies. Get it? Yeah. And
what is it? What did it do? Or what was
I wrote reviews.
Oh, it was
and that was basically it. And it wasn't anything special, but I did have like a small group that would read it that I wasn't related to, so that was pretty nice. You know, I would just go, friends, I would just go see a movie and like write about it, and say whether it was a hit or a miss, and I try to keep it real concise. I don't have that website anymore. It was taken away from me. How dare they? But mainly it like expired, and it was under a different email that we never checked. So it's like, whoa, what happened? So did Miss Movies, Hit or Miss Movies, and after a while I was like, I should just be Miss Movies of Hit or Miss Movies.
Yeah.
And so then I started, all of my reviews would be under Miss Movies. And that was in 2004. In 2007, I was invited to come on the Film Vaults, which at that time was not, that's with Bald Brian Bishop of The Adam Carolla Show and Anderson Cowan formerly of Loveline. He was the engineer of Loveline for 10 years, over 10 years. And they had a show, and they actually Brian called up my husband and said, "Hey, your wife writes," I was girlfriend at the time. Yeah. "Your girlfriend writes movie reviews. We need a girl on our show. Would she be interested?" And so it was like kind of this weird back and forth where it was in between. Like my husband was the go-between. I was like, why doesn't he just call me himself? Anyways, but I was like, I don't know if you really want me. Like, I don't know if I'd be good at that.
Why?
Just because I wrote. I didn't like speak about.
You never had mic experience or talked about it. Oh, okay.
Right. So I just thought, I'm not going to be good at that. You guys want my husband. He really can talk like about movies. And they're like, no, we want a girl. And I was like, I'll try it. So then I tried it.
You tried it?
Yeah.
And did it work out, or how did that
It worked.
go?
I was with them for 7 years.
Whoa.
So yeah, it worked out. I did this segment called Red Light, Green Light, which is basically pitching films that are in development, and they play the studio heads, and then they decide whether they would give it a red light or a green light. And then they kind of like discuss it. And at the time, knowing what I know now about hosting, like I would have done it completely different than I did then. But I didn't know then. So I was just learning as I went along.
How old were you at the time?
Let's see. In 2007, I was 26.
26. Okay, so this was like kind of out of college, but not really out of college?
Well, kind of out of college. I had just finished up my teaching credential. I was my second year teaching.
Oh, okay.
I taught my teaching credential, let's see, and my master's degree completed in like 2005. I started teaching August of 2005, my first class in the first grade.
Well, you had a master's degree.
Yes.
From USC?
Who knew? Well? Not from USC. My master's degree is from National University.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But you're like proud of going USC. Everyone is
of course.
You know, like
of course.
Everyone's like USC victory.
Yeah. Well, when you are part of the when you're part of the USC Songgirls and the band and stuff, it's kind of like, okay, it's in my blood now. Like I saw Rudy a few weeks ago for the first time, and I was like, I hate this film. I hate this film.
Just because of Notre Dame?
Yes.
Really?
I was like, I've never felt like, I was like, my blood is boiling. I don't care about this story right now. And then I was just like, why does this happen? Why does this have to happen? And then I was like, I know it's like you're ingrained. It was like I was brainwashed at some point during my time as a song girl.
But they don't play USC in the film, do they?
No, not in the movie.
It's just because it's a different team? Or is USC like their rival or something? Why did you hate the movie?
Oh, I hated the movie because it's about Notre Dame. Had it been about any other school, I would have been like, this is great. I love this movie.
But is Notre Dame the rival of USC?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know anything about
UCLA
sports.
pretends that they are the rival of USC, but they are the crosstown rival. They're not the real rival.
Why is Notre Dame the rival? It's just been around forever?
Oh, because it's like from the start, USC has always played Notre Dame.
Oh, okay.
There is a tradition there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Before UCLA was even around, it was Notre Dame.
USC people are so pretentious. And
they are.
Everything.
I mean, I get it.
But you always wanted to go USC?
You know what? I didn't know that I wanted to go to USC until I toured it with my sister. My sister went to the University of Oregon for a year. And after a year, she was like, I cannot return there, probably because of the rain.
Oh, yeah.
She was like, I just cannot go back.
The Northwest. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she was like, I want to look at some other schools, like see some other options to see if I can transfer.
Did you only have one sister?
I have two sisters. So this
older?
was the both of them are older. This is the closest one in age to me.
Okay. So you were the baby and you followed your closer older sister.
Correct. I did. Yeah. For the first time ever, I followed my oldest sister because we didn't go to the same high schools. Like my two sisters went to the same high school and I was like, I'm going to this other high school.
You chose what high school you wanted to go to?
Yeah. Isn't that weird? You know what's funny? They give out in 8th grade, they give out this survey to the kids. I don't know why they give it to the kids.
Yeah.
Where it's like, check the box of the high school that you are going to attend. And so I checked Pioneer High School because I was like, I don't want to go to Leland. Pioneer has like a dance team that's really good. Oh, okay. Maybe I should check that out. And then I told my parents, I didn't check off Leland. I checked Pioneer. And they were like, what? What do you mean? And then later in life, we're like, that was the best decision. That was a way better school than the other one. In terms of like socialness and like, they're like, we really liked the parents that, were at the school that you chose as opposed to the other school because my parents felt like they didn't fit in with like the groups of parents over there.
What was different about it? Was it like income, like inequality or anything?
Not necessarily income, but that school is more focused very specifically on academics.
Okay.
Whereas the school I went to is the arts.
Like more liberal. Okay.
Yeah. So they were like, we're in with these people. They like to party. Like the other school was like, no, we're very like, give us your money and go away. Like that kind of thing.
And you were always like an artsy person?
Yeah.
Or like performing?
I said my first monologue when I think I was 3 years old in my high chair.
Were you doing Shakespeare?
I actually did it today in front of William Bibiani. It was, I don't want to get stepped on, kicked in the face, bruised, or lacerated. You just watch what you're doing when they go shoving you in, Mr. Radiant. And that is from Charlotte's Web. And that is Templeton. And that was the first thing that I ever memorized and said back to my parents.
When you were 3 years old,
Yes.
you memorized a monologue?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
I watched a lot of TV.
Were you raised on television?
Yes, I was.
Were you a latchkey kid?
Kind of, but not really, because I did have like a key to the house, but my mom was pretty much there pretty soon after I got there.
Okay.
Yeah, because she was a teacher as well. So
Same-
she got home.
Same
quickly.
school as you or no?
Same school that she taught at.
Or like what was she like was she like an elementary school teacher when you went to elementary school?
Yeah, what she did while I was in school is she was the library resource teacher. So like at that time they had money where they could have the kids go to the library. Their regular teacher could go back to their classroom and like plan.
Yeah.
And then the library resource teacher would do like library lessons with them or talk about a specific author and do a lesson with each class. So they would do that for however long.
So that was what your mom did.
That's what my mom did.
Okay.
And then they cut that. That's one of the jobs that they, end up cutting. And then she went back into the classroom to teach second grade when I was getting my credential. So I actually did a lot of hours in her classroom with her. While I was getting my credential.
Oh, that was a teacher that you went to in second grade? I thought you said you just went to a random teacher.
But, no. Okay. So this kind of goes back to film therapy. You were just on film therapy and we were talking a little bit about how I was teaching, right?
Yeah. That's
I'm just making sure that I'm not going,
No, you
mentioned it here, right? Or did I not? No, I didn't.
What do you mean?
How I hate high school students.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Okay,
you didn't mention it here, but you mentioned on film therapy that you wanted to teach high school, but then you didn't like them, so you went back to a second grade teacher. I thought it was a random teacher.
Yeah, no, it was my second grade teacher.
Oh, okay.
Yes, when I was in second grade, I went to my second. So now, as an adult, I went back to my second grade teacher and said, "Hey, I want to check out your class because I hate high school kids, but there's something about teaching that I think I like." And then I watched her and I was like, yeah, I like this. I'm going to do this. And then I was able to, while I was getting my credential, work in my mom's classroom.
Oh, okay. So it's later
grade.
on.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. And then you taught second grade for a couple years?
No, I taught first grade for too long. And then I taught fourth grade. And that's like really where I was like, yeah, these kids are like totally the kids that like this age level is exactly the ones that I get. And I like feel like we have a good thing going on because there's things like when I taught fourth grade, the Chilean minors were like stuck. And there was that day when they emerged.
Yeah.
And I came into class and we just talked about like that experience and watching that happen and history happen. And we all had this really great discussion about it. I was like, if I taught first grade, it'd be like, I was stuck in the closet once.
Yeah.
I was scared. It was dark. Like some kids, it's like, okay, I know you're not old enough to internalize this, but like it was incredible to have such a very mature discussion with 10-year-olds. And I was just like, wow. I really like this.
But if you go like too old, like high school or something, they just like don't care. They're like, whatever.
Right, sure.
Like, who cares about
fourth grade, they still are respectful to the teacher. Mm-hmm. So I was like, yeah, this is great. I love this.
That was the perfect middle ground.
We do the gold rush. We talk about some cool California stuff. I was like, I got this.
Yeah. So how long did you do that for?
I did that for a year and a half because then I had my daughter.
Oh, okay.
And so I went out at like December of the following year for fourth grade. So a year and then a half. And then I was out for the rest of the year. And then when I came back, I decided to teach part-time and I taught first, third, and fifth reading. Oh, okay. And that was 4 days a week. And it was like 4 hours a day.
Were you a sub teacher or were you?
No, I was like, what they would do is it's called tracking. So what they would do is they would level them by reading groups.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So like I had my fifth grade group was like the at grade level group. So then I would do a lesson with them for reading and we would kind of break off into groups. And then my, third grade group was the advanced group. So then we would go into a little more advanced reading for third grade. And my...
So when did you meet your husband around? Like...
Oh, when did I meet my husband? I met my husband at a Dance Dance Revolution party.
They had those?
At USC in 2002.
Oh, so you've known him since college?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
College sweethearts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of those.
One of those.
Where you were a cheerleader and he was a football player.
Oh, no, he was not a football player. He was like a computer science major. So
like a Bill Gates type, like little nerdy guy.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely not like nerdy, but not a jock.
Oh, okay.
If you will. Yeah.
But he can still like hold his own.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very talkative. Yeah. Very social. Kind of the opposite of like other computer science majors.
Oh, he wasn't like a really like introverted kind of like weirdo guy?
No.
Okay. He can be sociable and
yes.
be out in public.
Exactly. He can be out in public. He's allowed.
So how'd you meet him in college though?
Okay. So there was this Dance Dance Revolution party happening at the frat house that he's a Pi Kappa Phi. And
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was in Alpha Phi. Which was not a good choice, by the way. It served its purpose, which was pretty much meeting my husband. But why
wasn't it a good choice? What's
I ended up
difference?
Deactivating when I was a senior, and I'll tell you why. It was because there was a group of girls, and I lived in the house. So I lived in the house in a 4-person room. On the top level. 4
people to 1 room?
Yes.
Okay.
So 2 bunk beds.
Oh, okay.
There was a room that was 6 girls in a room on the level below us. And when I first started dating my husband, first started dating him in college, there was a girl that was jealous because she had gone out with him once.
Ooh,
and
she
was
liked him?
Yeah.
Ooh.
And so it was like, how dare you go out with this guy. I went out with him, and there was the whole room just did not talk to me and would not even look at me if I was in the proximity of them.
It's like the code thing where if a friend goes out with somebody you can't and they break up, you can't go out with them.
But I wasn't her friend.
Yeah.
I mean, I was
though.
I was friendly with her until that point. And then the other part is she had a boyfriend at home. What is wrong with her?
Wait, back home, not in LA,
correct.
Wherever she's from, Minnesota or something.
From I think San Francisco. I don't remember where she was from.
So she had a boyfriend back home, but she was going after your then boyfriend or then husband.
Yeah.
Yeah, not then husband. Yeah, she was going after him.
Before, she went to an event with him, not one of Alpha Phi's events, I don't think. I don't know if she went to a Pi Kappa event with him. I can't remember. But she went to something with him and then just thought that they were going to be together, I guess. But he was like, I'm not really into her, so...
Oh, he broke up with her?
Well, it wasn't like breaking up.
But
it was I went out with her once.
Not going to pursue it.
That was great, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm done with that.
Yeah. So
I've moved on.
So then you see him doing his little DDR dance.
He was not dancing.
Oh, okay.
It was just some random guys in the frat. And we didn't actually realize that we had talked to each other later. Because I was like, I talked to this guy on the couch at this Dance Dance Revolution party and he was pretty cool. Okay, cool. That was it. I left. And then later he was like, yeah, were you at that Dance Dance Revolution? I was like, yeah. And then it came together
we had a whole
conversation. Who knew?
You didn't remember? You guys didn't remember each other?
It's
or were you guys
college.
Were you guys drinking?
There could have been alcohol
that
involved.
Makes sense. Were you 19 at the time?
No.
Freshman, sophomore?
I was probably I was 20.
Okay.
I was 20 because here's the other part. So that was I don't know, in November or something like that.
Yeah.
And then kind of talked to him in December-ish. Or throughout then.
Mm-hmm.
And then I hadn't started dating him. It was my birthday. I just turned 21. I went to this place called the 29, which was at the end of the row. His brother worked at the 29 and just kept giving me free drinks. I was with these other 2 guys from the same frat that were just my friends from the frat. And they're like, let's take you out. Let's go drinking.
Was the brother trying to hit on you?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Well, you would think giving you free drinks, he's trying to hit on you.
But his free drinks are the reason that I went back to the frat house and was like, why haven't you asked me out, Jeff? I don't understand what your problem is.
Wait, Jeff is the husband or the...
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you went to him and why did you
Because I knew that he was interested in me because like
how did you know
a
that?
friend of ours was like, hey, Jeff kind of thinks you're cute. And I was like, cool. I could go out with him, like that kind of thing.
Did you get drunk? You got drunk enough and you confronted him?
Sure. Yeah. It's the liquid courage.
Yeah. So then what did he say when you asked him that?
He was like, well, give me your number. And I was like, you need a pencil because you need to write this down.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm going to remember it. I was like, I don't think you will.
Were you calling bullshit? Like he was just saying, I'll remember it. Like, but he wouldn't call you back. Were you thinking that?
No, I was just like, you're not going to remember. Maybe I did think like, he's never going to call me.
But he remembered it?
He did.
Wow.
He did.
He's a smart guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He knows his numbers. Yeah.
There's also this thing called the Greek directory at the time. Where he could have probably just looked up my name.
Oh, that's not as special.
Yeah. But I mean, not everyone had it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just like around.
So he called you up?
He did.
But this was before cell phones, texting, and all that?
I had a cell phone.
Oh, it was cell phones.
No texting. Just call.
It was like the old Nokia phone or something like that. Yeah, the brick phones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it was. No, actually, mine was like a Sprint one that was kind of long. I really liked it. Actually, I'm kind of sad it was gone.
I wish phones were still like that big or like that kind.
It was kind of small, but it kind of looked like a little candy bar almost. You know, like.
So did it even have like caller ID? Do you remember?
Something did at that time. Like I know that his phone had caller ID, but he had like a landline at the fraternity house. So it had caller ID and it had an answering machine.
Ooh, fancy.
Yes.
So when he called you, did it show up as his number or his name or anything? Or were you just like...
I don't even remember. Okay. I do remember calling him once and like no one answered. So I hung up and then later I was like, I probably should have left a message. Yeah. So then I called back and I was like, crap, what if he has caller ID? He knows I called twice. Oh well.
You seem desperate.
I was like, oh, too late. I'm already doing this.
So he called you up and then you guys went out?
Yeah.
Where'd you guys go?
Our first date was supposed to be to the 2-9.
Oh, yeah.
After...
Back to the bar where his brother works?
I think it was after a basketball game because that's when I started song leading. So like he came to the basketball game to see me dance. Mm-hmm. And then after that we were going to go to the 2-9. Yeah. Just simple. And then he was like, there's a lot of people in here. He's like, why don't we go somewhere else? And I was like, okay. So he drove me to Pasadena to this place called Lucky Boy.
Ooh.
Don't know if you know this place.
I don't, but Pasadena's quite a ways away from USC though.
It is.
Yeah.
It is a greasy spoon and it was delicious. It's just like there's a SNL skit that I want to say Jim Belushi does, where it's like cheeseburger Coke. I don't know.
Cheeseburger.
Yes,
yeah.
That I feel like they made that off of this place.
Yeah.
Like someone came here and was like seeing this man scream back your order to your face and decided they were going to do this.
Yeah. So then you guys went there, had dinner.
I think he felt like if she's okay with this place, then she's going to be okay with anything.
Oh, really?
So I was like, I feel like it was a test.
It was like a test thing,
but it was really good.
Oh, you were like you were fine with the place, or you just like kind of turned off by it?
I wasn't like this. What are we doing here? I think I was like, okay.
Well,
maybe
I'll go along with this. Testing like a USC type girl. It's like who didn't want to get like their hands dirty with a greasy cheeseburger. Yeah, right.
Maybe.
So it was a test.
Could have been.
And then I had that night end. Did you get it, or you already had his number? But did you make plans to meet again?
I don't remember.
No?
I have no idea if we did or not.
It just like went on from there. You're just like, okay, and then now our story begins.
Kind of. Yeah. I mean, it was like I got to pick the next place that we went out to.
Which was?
So I picked this place called The Big Chill, which is a frozen yogurt place. And it's over by the West Side Pavilion. I don't even know where it is at this point. Like I need to look on my Google Maps to find it again because I'm like, that place is good. Yeah. It's like the best frozen yogurt that I had tasted.
So your first like initial dates were just sitting down and talking. They weren't like going out and drinking and getting drunk or anything.
Yeah, no.
It was just like, let's get to know each other. And you guys enjoyed each other's company.
Correct.
Yeah. So then you're like, hey, this is the guy I wanna spend my life with.
Yeah. And that was I knew that like within that first like few months, like that this could probably be forever.
Was he your age? Like your grade at the time?
And was he my grade at the time?
Yeah, in your same grade?
He's a year older than I am.
Okay.
So 2002 is when he graduated and I graduated in 2003.
Okay. And then is he from LA too?
He's from Los Angeles, which is why I ended up here, because he was like, well, I've grown up here and you came here, so I feel like we should stay here. Yeah. And I was like, okay, all right, I'll do it.
Oh yeah, I want to get into like why you came over here, because I think you mentioned it briefly, but you went to community college first.
I did.
Were you not a good student, or you just like didn't know? Or
Great question. Not that I didn't know. It wasn't that I wasn't a good student, because I was pretty high ranked in my class, but it was that my SAT scores were terrible, like really bad.
Back then, 1600 was like the best?
Yes.
What was your score?
It was not 1,000.
It wasn't even 1,000?
No.
Wow.
And I was like, I am dumb. I took like a course too after the first time I took it, which went up like 70 points. 70 points? I don't know.
It's like no more than 970.
Yeah. So it was like not good.
Really?
Not good.
But you said you're not. But you said you're not a good test taker.
I am not. I am a terrible test taker and terrible at multiple choice, which is why trivia frightens me so much.
But like, what about it like frightens you? Because if you know it, you would think like if you know it, you know it. If you don't know it, then you don't know it. Like
it's not always those factors, because it's a time limit.
Oh, okay.
And I think that has something to do with the SAT too, in terms of time limits.
Like you get anxiety under the pressure?
Yes. And I'm like, I can't really think through these answers as properly as I would like to. I'm also terrible at math. So this is not going to go well. But
we mentioned that your highest math class is like 5th grade.
That's the highest I can teach.
That's your level.
But I was like, I don't think I can go much farther than this.
Yeah.
But in terms of like in high school, I did math up to junior year, which was like the requirement, and then you didn't have to do it your senior year depending on what level you were at. But I definitely had like a tutor. Like I had a tutor that would come in at night to like go through homework with me for some math stuff, and I was just like,
were you like in danger of like failing math?
No, it was more of I wanted the C to be a B or an A.
Oh, okay.
So it was C.
To get into a good school.
Right.
Did you know what you wanted to do out of high school?
Out of high school, I don't know if I knew that I wanted to teach at that time, but I knew I wanted to do something with theater. And I never thought like, I want to be on camera. I want to be an actress. Like that was never part of my thought process, but I enjoyed it. There was one time where I was like, maybe I should try that out. And it's because there was a professor at USC. I took an acting for camera class with Joseph Hacker, and he was like, I want you, can you just stay a little bit after class? And I was like, yeah. So it was just like, sure.
Go
so
over
then he was
things
like,
with?
Yeah. So he was like, I think you need to do this. Like, I think you have something. And I think that you can be on camera and be like in commercials or in movies or things like that. And he's like, and I don't tell this to a lot of students. And I was like, that's great, but I just want to be a theater like teacher. So cool. And he's like, I've never had that response ever. I've never told this to a student and have them be like, no.
Why is like your initial reaction like no to like everything? Because
that's great.
When Adam Carolla's friends like asked you to be on their podcast, you're like, no, I don't want to do this. And when your teacher's saying, hey, I see something in you, you're like, no.
You know what? It's because the movie Kung Fu Panda was not around at that time. So Kung Fu Panda 3 really has opened my eyes to life. I will say that, which sounds
the third one.
Ridiculous.
Not the
Very
first or
specifically,
second.
the third one, because Shifu or Shifu, I don't know how you say his
Hoffman.
name. Yeah. He says, if you only do what you can do, you'll never be better than what you are. And so I've taken that quote and used it for so many things. It's the reason I do the Schmoedown. Like, it's the reason I said yes to Christian when he was like, hey, we need girls for this. Come on over. And I'm like, oh, no. And then I was like, wait a minute.
Yes.
Kung Fu Panda 3. Okay, like I should do it.
That's what's frightening about saying yes to everything, because you don't know like what's going to happen, what's going to go wrong. But you feel like you're in your head a lot when you're just like, no, I don't want to do that, and just don't take risks with anything.
It could be like I for a moment was like, well, I'll submit to some agents, and if someone responds, then I'll check it out.
This was back when your teacher was saying.
This was back when the teacher said, hey, you should do this.
And you're like, no.
So And I didn't really get much response from any agents at that time. And it was back then, it wasn't like it is now.
With LA casting and all these.
Yeah, like I had to have headshots printed out.
Yeah.
Like I had to actually like send out in the mail my headshot and resume and stuff. And I didn't really receive response. So I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to do that, you know?
Really? You just gave up after what, like a few months?
But it wasn't in me. Like that wasn't what I wanted to do.
You didn't see yourself acting for the screen or for like commercials or anything?
Right. Because in that class, you learn, he's like, if you don't make it as a female by 25, if you are not in a film.
Really?
By 25 years old, you are not going to make it.
Really?
He's like, you will not break through at any point. And so I went back, I like started looking through like resumes, you know, of actresses and stuff. And I was like, he's right. Like for a guy, it's definitely older.
Oh yeah. Like Bryan Cranston or Kevin Spacey can get like bigger when they're older, like in their 30s or 40s.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah. He was like 60. Yeah.
For women, it's like, if you haven't come in, you're not getting in. And I was just like, this really limits like how much time I have to get this going and to really go into it. And I feel like I'm already behind.
How old were you at the time?
20, 21.
Okay. Yeah. So you're like, okay. Well, you didn't think like, okay, I have 4 years to try it.
No. I just thought I'm already behind. It's time to just move on.
Like if I wasn't born to be a star, I'm not going to be a star. Yeah, that's how you saw yourself.
I guess so.
Yeah. But you don't like to take risks or do anything like outside of your bubble. You like to stay in your bubble. We talked about it on Film Therapy where you don't like change.
I don't like change. So
it just frightens you.
It does frighten me.
But why?
Change can lead to great things, but sometimes you have to go through the pain to get to the greatness, and that's hard because like I'll give you a specific example. And this could take a while. I was like, how much time do we have? Yeah. So a few years ago, I was teaching in Burbank and had my daughter. She was like a year old. And I loved my job. I loved teaching part-time, teaching first, third, and fifth reading, having, you know, just a few hours a day that I was with students. It was the best part of teaching because it was just teaching. Like I didn't have to do any classroom management because 98% of teaching is managing your classroom and the rest is instruction.
Oh, you mean like creating a lesson plan and doing all that?
No, I mean like trying to get your students to be a community and to work together and to like have it so that way when you're doing a lesson, you don't have kids you have kids that are engaged in what's happening.
Oh, okay.
And you have to work on that. It just doesn't happen. So I loved that this part of teaching was just teaching, and I didn't have to worry about kids like getting out of order because we had small groups. I didn't have to worry about, you know, there's a little bit of classroom management in what I was doing, but I didn't have to worry about report cards or parents or conferences or all of the other parts of teaching that's very difficult. And my husband comes home one day and says, I have a job opportunity with Riot Games. And I was like, cool. You know, I had no idea what that meant. And he's like, and they're in Santa Monica. And I was like, that sounds like a long drive for you every day. And he was like, well, we're going to move.
You thought.
And I was like, oh, okay. So, and he worked at Warner Brothers at the time. So when he would get home at like 5, 6 o'clock, like every day.
You guys were living in Burbank at the time.
We were living in Burbank.
Right down the street from Warner Brothers Studios in Burbank. Okay. And then he gets a job offer in Santa Monica, which is on the complete opposite west side.
Correct.
And
it's
he's
like, you know, 18-ish miles from Burbank. But in any other part of the world could take like, you know, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But here it would be an hour and 30 minutes or 2 hours to get there from Burbank because there's no direct route and it's just so impacted.
Yeah.
So he says, we're going to move. And I'm already pregnant with my son. And I don't know exactly how far along I was, but by the time we moved, which was in August, and I was due in October. So I was pretty far along at that point. And so I had to quit my job. And we moved over to the other side of town, which is farther away from his parents, because his parents live in La Cañada. And so that was pretty close to Burbank. And, you know, his mom would watch my daughter and we had a lot of good support.
So
that was close by.
So everything was going, like everything up to that point was going so great.
Right.
Everything was in the proximity of each other. You were enjoying your job, and then like he's just like, okay, I got this opportunity.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, we moved over, and I lived in what's the name of it? Westchester, which is north of LAX, and I just hated it. And I don't know if that was because I was like sad that I am not working anymore. I'm just staying at home. Like when I say I'm just staying at home is really hard.
Yeah, you're a stay-at-home mom at this time. But so you had your son at this time, or
not yet? I mean, he was there, and he arrived in October, and like at that point, like just almost like completely shut down. I was like, I
really?
don't know.
Why were you shutting down? Because like you didn't, it's like
it was just everything. Like I didn't know anyone that was around me. I didn't have any support aside. Like I had to hire support, which was fine. Like I had we had a great nanny for almost a full year. And I don't know what I would have done without her. I don't know, may have taken my life.
Really?
That's something that, and I say this very seriously, like I suffer from suicidal thoughts, and that is something that now is finally going away. And I didn't know that being on birth control was causing me to have those thoughts.
Really?
So while all this was happening in this particular transition of my life, like I was still taking birth control once my son was here, and like I was just getting back into those thoughts, which would happen often, almost every day.
So after your son was born, you went right back onto the birth control?
Pretty much. It was, I want to say maybe 3 months after.
Okay.
Yeah, but they give you like a special one for breastfeeding. So it's like a different dose.
Okay.
Yeah.
But your doctors didn't tell you like, hey, you might like get like hormonal or suicidal thoughts with this thing.
What's crazy is when I started the pill, which was, 19-ish years ago now.
College time?
18 or 19. No, I started in high school, and it wasn't because I was sexually active, because I wasn't. It was because like it would be really painful for me every month, like to go through my period.
Oh, really?
So sorry, everyone, that I'm talking about this, but it was really painful, and I would be crouched in a corner for many hours, and I was just like, why is this happening?
Like missing school, like crouched in the corner? Wow.
Yeah, missing school. So, I would have to go back for dance team, but then I would be lying on the floor during dance practice, because if you miss dance practice, you have to be an alternate. So then my mom was like, why don't we go get this, because it could help.
So you went to the doctor?
And that time they didn't have the like, this could be a side effect. This could be a side effect. This could be a side, like you don't really know.
It wasn't like the beginning of birth control, but it was just like, okay, there's not all these different ones that we have now.
Yeah.
It was just a pill.
Right.
Yeah. So is that when you got the suicidal thoughts, in high school, when you started the birth control?
Because here's what happened. Fast forward to like over a year ago, March 17th, I went to a doctor in El Segundo, which is where I live. And I was just doing a physical. I hadn't done a physical since like 2007. So it was like almost 10 years, guys. Sorry. But I do, my regular visits to my OB. But we were at the end, and he's like, anything else you want to tell me? I was like, yeah, I have suicidal thoughts. And he was like, okay. And so he like puts down his pen. He's like, all right.
He's like, I was thinking you just maybe have a cramp or something.
Yeah. He's like, let's talk about this for a second.
Yeah.
He said, how long have you had these thoughts? And I was like, okay, 17 years. And he was like, wow, all right. He's like, and how long have you been taking birth control? And I was like, oh, shit.
That blew your mind?
Yes. Yeah. Like I never put it together, which is crazy that I never put it together, because there was a time when I wasn't taking birth control, because I was, I had my daughter, or shortly, after she was born. And I was like, this is really nice, because I don't have suicidal thoughts.
So you were aware that like, hey, your mindset was different at the time?
Yes. And I thought, oh, maybe it's just pregnancy, like maybe it's just having a kid. Maybe it's just all these hormones.
So when you first had your daughter, were you like, okay, we're going to go for a kid right now. I'm going to get off the birth control? Or
Wait,
no?
what? Oh.
Like when you were first like planning on having your daughter? So you just like, was it a talk with your husband? Say, okay, I'm going to stop taking birth control.
Right.
We're going to have a kid. And then you got pregnant right away.
I didn't get pregnant right away. I had to go on Clomid.
What's that?
Which is a drug. Like we were trying for 8 to 10 months before I went on Clomid.
Oh, okay.
And Clomid is basically like stimulates your ovulation and can result in like multiple children also.
Really?
So
like an Octomom type situation?
Thank goodness. Not that many. Probably more like twins.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And looking up the percentage, like based on if you don't take it as opposed to if you do, it was like 2% more.
Okay.
So I was like, it's really nothing.
Yeah.
But
you didn't realize in that 8 to 10 month period, like you were like content, you were happy because you were off birth control.
I don't know if I necessarily noticed it then, but I noticed it later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
with the Clomid though, like I noticed that my personality changed entirely.
Like how?
Like, so at school as a teacher, we have this thing called the points board.
Uh-huh.
And it's this board that's basically like, it's kind of, you say something inappropriate at the right time, you say something inappropriate at the wrong time, which you get more points for. But like you, basically sarcasm is really like where you can earn these points.
Wait, it's good to earn these points?
Well, it's kind of like a thing between us. Like you want to have like the most points. It means you're the wittiest person in the school. So like, you know,
okay,
it's only between the teachers and it's never like during class or anything like that. Like you have to be in the same room with the other teachers and they have to be like, that's a point for you.
Oh, it was between I thought it was between you and the students.
No.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So,
so were you getting like more points?
I had the most points at the end of this one year. And then the second year when I started taking the Clomid, I was not quick anymore. Like I couldn't bring up those sarcastic remarks like I normally would.
You think
I was just like, man, I know this is what's happening to me. Like I know that's why.
It was just like affecting your mentality?
Yes.
Really?
Weird.
So then you get pregnant and you get off that?
Exactly.
So then you think like it's all pregnancy hormones, how
right.
like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then you get back on birth control after that and you go through the whole thing again?
You know what happened after my daughter was because it was so difficult I say so difficult, but it really wasn't terrible. When I was on Clomid, they were like, if it doesn't take after 3 months, then you have to go see a specialist. Oh. So I was on the 3rd month and it wasn't taking. And I was like, what's next? And they're like, well, what we do is we keep you on the Clomid, but you need to go, we'll only extend the Clomid for like 2 more months maximum because it can, at that point, it's not good for your body anymore.
Wow.
So I had made an appointment with a specialist and paid a lot of money. And like the day before I go to see him, I take a test and it's like, you're pregnant. I was like, great. Now I'm just going to go spend all this money for him to maybe confirm that I'm pregnant,
really?
Which he did.
Oh, okay.
Because like I couldn't cancel the appointment and get my money back or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I saw him a few times. But because it was kind of difficult for us and I have some issues, I thought it would be difficult for us no matter what going forward. So I didn't go back on birth control.
Oh, okay.
And then I had my son and I wasn't expecting like to so quickly like have another child.
Was it like within 2 years or something?
Yeah, they're 22 months apart.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. So at about 12 months was when I was like, hey, I guess we're pregnant again. Cool.
So it wasn't like you were planning for a second kid. It was just like, it's fine.
Yeah,
it works
but
out.
That was kind of how we said, like, why don't we just do that? And we'll see what happens. Not expecting anything. And then after that, I was like, I'm getting on it as soon as I can, as soon as it's safe after he's born.
Really? You don't tell your husband, like, hey, you wear something. Like, why do I have to go through this?
That would be great. I mean, that's where we're at now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're not on it anymore.
No.
You don't have to deal with that anymore. Are you still experiencing suicidal thoughts?
I don't as much. I definitely don't. I did the other day, like, I won't lie. And I was like, darn it, because like it was so long that I hadn't had any thoughts that I was like, I don't remember the last time that I had a suicidal thought.
Oh, is that long?
A suicidal thought. And then like yesterday or the day before, I was like, crap, it's back.
Is there anything that like triggers it or causes it? It's just stress.
It's stress.
Okay.
It's like my stress coping mechanism. When things are really stressful for me, then I just kind of, it's like the shutdown point. And I feel like it's the release. Like if I think about that, that's the worst that could ever happen. Then it kind of lets go of like what's happening and stress wise. And I feel like it lets off the stress.
Like
and
there's nothing left to lose after that. Has there been a point where like, is it just thoughts or
it's just thoughts?
You never like,
I've never picked up a gun or anything like that being like, oh.
So, but it's suicidal thought. It's just like being down on yourself and being super depressed and just like shutting down, or like, what are the thoughts exactly?
What are the thoughts exactly? I will tell you what the thoughts are exactly. It's almost the same every time, and it's a gun to the head.
Really?
Yeah.
So people like picture the actual
I picture
action.
myself doing it. Yes.
Wow.
In my head.
Wouldn't a gun like be, isn't that like hit or miss? You know?
No.
It wouldn't, like,
I think that's hit.
No, but like, okay, maybe like.
But I also don't own a gun, so that helps. So, you know, that's great.
But you would think that like, there's other ways. Like, you haven't thought of like pills or other things like that. It's just like the strictly gun.
It's always the same one.
I wonder why that is.
It has been, there was a time when it was different, and it was car, like in the garage with it running. So that was one other thought that I had before. And I was like, ooh, this is new. Why is this one coming up? Like, you know, I do think of it as like, that's strange. That's different.
Yeah. But it never scared you to the point where like, okay, I need to get rid of these thoughts.
It was more to the point. I mean, that's when I finally told the doctor.
Okay. That was 17 years after the birth control. Yeah. And you were what, like, I don't know how old you were at that point.
Oh, dear. I don't know. How old am I now? Let's see.
I don't even know what year it is right now.
I don't know. 34, 35.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then at that point, did he like recommend you to a therapist?
He said, here's what we're going to do. He said, right now you're walking around with a parachute on your back. So we're going to get rid of the birth control. That's going to cut the parachute off your back. It's like, but you're still going to have like the leftovers. Yeah. It's like, there's still going to be thoughts there because you've dealt with it for so long that you are going to go back there even without these pills he's like, for a while. But once it's all out of your system, and it can take a year, he said, once it's all out of your system, you will start to think about it much less than you have. It's like it won't go away like forever.
Yeah, it'll still be there.
He's like, it's just you've had it for just too long. But then he said, and we're going to get you a therapist because that's going to help as well. And basically what he did was he scheduled me to return, and I brought a list of people to see if he had like any recommendations, you know, people that I researched. And I will say this, like the hardest part for me between that time of talking to him and giving him that list, and the hardest part is making the call to the doctors and trying to get appointment set up. And the fact that pretty much everyone on that list who is under my insurance is completely booked.
Like you can't even see them for months at a time?
Yeah, you can't get in.
No.
Like they are not taking new patients because really? They're booked. They're completely full. So that's what I ran into. It was like, it would take me a month to make a call. And then that person would be like, we are full. And then it would take me another month to make a call. And then that person would be like, we're full.
So you weren't getting any help at all?
No. So I didn't get help until October of that same year. Like I finally shut down at like a MOPS group, and MOPS is Moms of Preschoolers, which is a group that I went to for 3-4 years, probably 4 years. That's like when you have kids, you can go to it. It's like a twice a month meeting of moms.
Is it like
kind of a support group in a way,
support group? Yeah,
but not really, because like we do a craft together, and then there's a speaker, and we have breakfast together, and our kids are downstairs in childcare while we're doing this.
So it's like kind of like a socializing group,
right?
That just kind of supports each other.
Yeah. So there was a therapist that came in to talk, and someone had asked her, "How much does it cost to see you?"
Yeah.
Without insurance. And she said, it's $180 an hour. And I just started bawling. Like, because I was like, I don't have $180.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have that.
For 1 hour. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I thought, like, is this what it's going to cost me? And am I going to be able to do that? And am I going to be able to meet my bills? You know, like, where's the importance? Where does this lie? Not that I wanted to necessarily see her, but I just thought once she said that number, I was like, that's it.
That's like, it for everybody. Yeah. Like everyone's going to be at that price without insurance.
Yeah.
That's how you saw it?
That's how I saw it.
Yeah.
So then I'm just like crying. And we have this wonderful like woman that is the table mom, who's an older mom.
Yeah.
And like I asked to be at her table because I knew that she's like a really great person. And I was like, I really need someone this year. Like I really need some help this year. And so she like took me out and was like talking to me about like, let's find out what our options are. Let's find out what we can do to help you to get to this person, if that means like us getting financial help for you or what have you. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to look into, there's another woman that was at my table who saw a therapist and loved her therapist. And I was like, maybe I should just talk to that lady and see what she's got going on. And so I called her and she gave me her rate, which was much lower. And I was like, thank the Lord. Like I can actually afford to see this woman.
Was it more than half or less than half?
It was more than half.
Okay.
But not much more. Not much more.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like 120.
Okay. So but you're like, okay, maybe I can do this.
Yeah. And so I
how
started seeing her.
Oh, that was
and
the one
I
you
still
saw.
see her.
How was the so the time where you told your doctor, hey, I want to see a therapist, or I'm experiencing these thoughts, the time where you started seeing a therapist, how long was that?
From March to October. That was the black hole, I'll call it.
So 7 months go by and okay, you finally see this person.
Yes.
And that was your first time going through therapy at all?
No. I've been through therapy a few times. Let's talk about those. Let's see. The first time I went through therapy was at the beginning of junior college because I was so depressed that I was not going to a 4-year college. And my mom was like, hey, let's go over here. Let's go check this place out.
What was it?
You have someone to talk to. I was like, okay.
So your mom saw it in you and she's like, hey, you need to talk to somebody.
I mean, I was sleeping the entire day. Day.
But you were in junior college at the time?
I was.
So were you just not going to class or you're just shutting down?
I would go to class and then I would do my homework and then I would just go to sleep. And I didn't have anything else.
You had no personality going on. You're just no social life, nothing. You're to yourself.
Yep.
Do you know if there's if it runs in your family at all? Like mental? I don't want to say mental issues.
That's interesting. My oldest sister has some mental issues in terms of maybe bipolar.
Oh, okay.
She has been on Prozac and I don't know what it is now, but when Prozac first started, she definitely was a part of that.
So it is like a scientific thing or chemistry thing in the brain that runs through the family, like genetically.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we got crazies.
Yeah.
We definitely got crazies.
So did you tell your husband before you started dating him seriously? Hey.
No. I have never told anyone that I had suicidal thoughts until I told the doctor.
That was the first time you opened up to anybody?
Yes.
So you never mentioned hey, I saw a therapist when I was 19 or anything?
I may have told him about that.
Oh, okay.
Because when I moved to Los Angeles, that's when I got another therapist.
Oh.
Because I was like, this is a big transition for me. Moved permanently to Los Angeles.
Like for school?
No, after USC, I moved home for a little bit. Did some stuff in my mom's classroom, her second grade classroom, while I was getting my credential, and then Jeff's family invited me to live with them.
Oh, okay.
While I was getting my credential, because when you're getting your credential, you could have a day job and go to class at night, but once you start student teaching, you really cannot have a job because you have to be in the classroom. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could have a job at night, I guess, but they invited me to live with them. Mm-hmm. And that's what brought me down to Los Angeles. And it was a big transition to live with a family that you don't, you know them, but you don't really know them. And I was like, is this going to be my fam? We're not engaged,
oh, yeah.
So
that another change, drastic, going from a family to a different family is completely just strange to you.
And I lived with them for 3 years. I had my own room.
Wow.
Jeff had his own room.
Oh, you guys weren't allowed to be in the same room?
I don't think they would have cared, but we were in separate rooms.
It's just disrespectful, to be in the same room.
I guess.
Yeah.
So, and I would, in a heartbeat, move back into their house, with my kids. They're the best.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to transition into that, but I did do therapy then, and I did not like my therapist. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know how to get out of that therapist relationship. And then once she was like, I have to cancel today. I'm not going to just call and reschedule. And I just never called and rescheduled. So I was like, okay, I'm done with that.
What do you mean you can't just like opt out and just like never call back?
You can't. I mean, I guess you could. I just couldn't figure out how to be like, you know what? This isn't working for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just couldn't. Breaking up is hard to do.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it.
But the first one you went to, that was with your mom. Your mom recommended you to go to see one in junior college. And what did you talk to?
Yes.
Was it a man or a woman?
It was a woman.
Yeah.
And it was part of this thing called at the time, and I don't know if they still have it. I think they do. It's called the Almaden Valley Youth Counseling Service. What it is basically I talked to someone that was getting their hours to become a counselor. And so they have a limited amount of time with you. It's like 3 months. And then if you want to continue, then they would have to place you with someone else. So
do you remember the first time going into to see that person?
No, I don't remember the first time going in, but I remember going in there and like playing the Ungame. Do you know the Ungame?
No.
It's a great game. Listen,
games
if you want to learn about like everyone in your life, play the Ungame with them. It like asks the most. You should probably play it on this show.
What is the
Holy
Ungame?
crap! It asks like existential questions, and it's like about people's lives. Like, when was the first time that this happened to you? But it's like very deep.
Why is it called the Ungame?
Because it's not really a game. It's not really a winner. There's no real game to it. It's like asking questions that are really about you.
But I thought meaning like stuff starts with like undoing something or unraveling or something. I don't know. I was just thinking
I think it's just like, it's not really a game.
It's just like, okay. I went to therapy in junior college as well. And
Tell me about that.
Actually, before that. Yeah. Do you want to know about this?
I do want to know.
It was, it was, I think, freshman year in high school.
Okay.
Or maybe sophomore year. I started smoking weed.
Was it court appointed?
No.
Okay.
It wasn't. It was my.
Sure.
It was my mom as well.
Okay.
She's like, you're acting different, because I think my parents were like splitting up at that time when I was like 14, 15.
Okay.
And then before I went to high school, my dad just like got kicked out of the house. So then I think I was acting out and against my mother like that. Not necessarily talking back, but just like shutting down and not just like wanting to be around her, because like she like kicked my dad out and like, hey, that's my dad.
Right.
So then, and I got into the wrong crowd like sophomore year. My brother was a senior. I wanted to hang out with all the seniors, be cool just like them. Started smoking weed and doing all that. My cousin ratted me out to my mom.
Right.
So she's like
a good cousin should.
Great. Yeah. Meanwhile, he's throwing up in my room on his birthday. Whatever. But so then my mom's like, you seem different, just like how your mom was. Like, you seem different. You're not the same. You're not as witty, as bright as you normally would be. Like, let's go figure this out. So she sent, I don't know how it was probably like through Kaiser, because we've been with Kaiser forever. So it was probably like appointed through that. And then I just we played games in there as well. Like some board game where it's like, hey, spin the thing, and you have to answer the question, whatever is on the card.
You probably played the Ungame. That's probably the Ungame.
Yeah.
This is probably a therapist's game that they play.
It's like basic 101 type game.
Yeah.
So I saw her for a couple months, and I was just like, okay, like I think I just acted better just to like get away from her, from the therapist. Just so I'm like, okay, I don't want to deal with this. Like, I have better things to do, so I'll be better. Were
you better?
Yeah.
So it worked then.
I guess so. But
Good.
I don't think the way like they planned it to be. Because I think I just saw it in myself where it's like, hey, I am hanging out with the wrong crowd, the football jocks, whatever, that just smoke weed before high school and just like do shitty things. Like, I am a good student. I want to do better in school. I am in the advanced classes, and I think I can do better. I remember like when I was smoking weed, like I just felt dumb. And that just wasn't me. So then that's why that was the first time I went to therapy. And so how many times have you been to therapy?
This is my third.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been twice. Do you want to hear the second
time?
I don't want to talk about this.
I want to know.
This isn't my show. This is your show.
But if I'm asking, you should tell me.
Are you asking?
Yes.
Okay.
Tell us about the second time.
The second time was in community college as well. I didn't really apply to high school or colleges. I didn't at all, because I was just like, I don't know what the fuck I want to do.
Yeah.
Like, my parents they didn't go to college, so they didn't have like, hey, you should follow my steps and go to college.
Yeah.
So then I was just like, okay, I'll go to community college. I'll figure it out. And then I was just kind of on my own. all my friends were in like 4 years, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? This is going so slow. I'm going to be here for the next 2.5 years or however long this will take because I'm not getting the classes I need.
Right.
And it just felt like my life was going nowhere. I was going to school and I was getting good grades, but I just felt like trapped. So I was like, okay, let me talk to somebody about it. So another Kaiser appointed guy. It was just some fat kid, or not fat kid, but it was the most ridiculous.
Some fat kid.
It was a fat old man who was just like he would come meet me in the waiting room. He would walk me to his room and just like sit down, just like not having any of it. He's like, so who are you? And just
man.
So I'm just
That's
like, oh,
rough.
I'm like, I just want to talk to somebody. You know, I don't really have anybody to talk to. Like, I haven't seen my dad in a while. It's just my mom and whatever. My brother, he's kind of doing his own thing as well. I think he might have been out of the state. Like, he went to Iowa for college. I was like, I need to talk to somebody. He's like, okay, what's wrong? And it wasn't just, I didn't have that connection. It was like how you said, like, you wanted to break up with your therapist. I saw him maybe like 3 times because he's like, the first time we did all that, he's like, okay, I'll see you in a month. I was like, a month? Like, can I see you next week? He's like, no, I'm booked.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, okay, like, I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah. And then I just stopped going after that.
Now he's not booked.
Yeah. He might be open. He might be dead because he was really overweight. But those are my 2 therapy stories. Yeah. So,
I also think that, like, you don't graduate from therapy.
Like, it's always with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
You either are in therapy or you're not in therapy. You don't like, oh, I've mastered therapy. Now I'm going. I'm on my own now.
Like, I completely understand my life and my mind and everything. No, like, you're always working on it.
Always working on it, like the Babadook. Because that is a metaphor for therapy.
Is it a metaphor for grieving or therapy? Or
grieving,
grieving.
Overcoming grief.
Did that film like hit you like
it
personally?
did. I saw it probably at the right time because I saw it when I was starting to come out of the darkness that I was in once I moved to Westchester. So going back to kind of that story about, you know, moving across town and really like shutting down. I remember my mom like being with me and she was just like, I don't know, like, where are you? Yeah. And I was like, I'm right here. What do you mean? She's like, you are not the same like person I know. And I was like, I know I'm not. And then she offers things like, how about I pay for a Weight Watchers, you know, thing for you, like, so that you can go to meetings and stuff. I was like, that's not going to help, Mom.
Were you gaining weight at the time?
Well, I just had my son. Okay, so it was kind of like, you probably want to lose weight. I was like, I'm not really interested in that right now. And that's always been a like big issue for, like, my mom has her own weight issues. Like, weight is always a very important thing for her. Like, she loves to eat? No, I've never thought of her as a big woman. She's very small. And I mean, she seems like an average size. She's not huge. She's not tiny, but like, she struggles with weight all the time and like food and stuff like that. And so, like, is it like a comfort thing where like she gets stressed out so she eats more? I have no idea what it is for her, but like, she passes that on to me, and I'm like, I don't have this desire. Like, I feel like you're always judging me by how I look, like what size I am. Really? Like, yeah. You always felt that way? You're like, oh yeah. Really? Yeah. But like, don't eat that. You shouldn't be eating that. I'm like, really? Okay. Then you get really anxious and anxiety. And you're like, okay, maybe I'm not. Did you ever like get like an eating disorder? Like in middle school, I would not eat for long periods of time. Yeah. Like anorexia sort of, but like not to the extreme. Like the extremes where you see like the bones and like the pictures of like the girls who are just like skin and bone. But it was more like Devil Wears Prada, where she's like, I feel like I'm going to faint, so I eat a piece of cheese. And then it's like, okay, yep, that's kind of how it was. That's how it was in middle school? So your mom was judging you back then? Oh, yeah. She's very critical. Wow. She's very critical, but she's also very loving. So it's really, it's a very difficult relationship with her. It's conflicting. It is conflicting. Yeah. Like, when I started losing weight, just like 2 years ago, like really started losing weight to get back to like my high school weight. And that wasn't never really the plan. I just kind of was like, I need a change. I need to do something, like not necessarily lose weight, but like I just need to change my healthiness and my lifestyle and stuff.
Did you work out or did you eat
Yeah,
better?
I did both.
Do you feel like
I got a personal trainer too?
Okay.
Like,
does working out like help you like get out of your head and just like comfort you?
It does. I'm finally at the point where I'm like, I don't dread going to the gym.
Oh, okay.
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
So that's nice to finally be at that point in my life.
There's always that threshold of like, I don't want to fucking go to the gym. But then after a while you see the results and you're like, okay, I enjoy it now.
Yes,
that's where you're at now. Yeah.
That's where I'm at now. And then my mom just was like once that started happening, like me getting smaller, she was just like, "Oh my gosh, you look so great!" And everything was about my weight. And I was like, "Can we just talk about something else? It's not about weight."
Was she like that with your sisters?
Oh yeah,
yeah, with everybody.
Yeah, it's her thing.
You don't have brothers?
No.
Oh, all women.
Yeah. My poor dad. We also had a girl dog, so that's too bad for him.
Did your dad say anything about it?
No.
He wouldn't. He didn't hear like your mom saying like, "Oh, hey." Maybe
I'm sure he'd be like, "Nancy, leave her alone." You know, like
just like her.
That's pretty much it.
Just very passive, just like just let her be.
Yeah, exactly. But I do remember her saying to me like, "You're not the same person," like, you know, and I don't. What's interesting is like people can see that you need help, but they're afraid to say anything. And what I needed was someone to be like, I made you an appointment with this doctor on this day. Go to this appointment. That's all I wanted was someone to do that for me. But no one would because they're scared.
Oh, you need someone to just like literally like guide you to your seat.
Yeah, that's the same thing with trying to find a therapist between the time that the doctor said, let's get a therapist to actually getting a therapist. I'm like, I just want someone to help me with this, which is why like I've thought about this for a while and I really want to do it. Like I want to be a therapist broker. Basically, like if someone like me needs a therapist, like they'll call me up.
Oh, and
they'll say, here's what I need. Like, can you find me something? And then I'd call around to find this person.
Is there different ways to like approach it? Like if you're saying, hey, I'm having suicidal thoughts, is it like based on the issues you have, like weight issues or like drinking issues? Is there different types of therapy for that?
There could be, or groups, I would think, right? Because there's like Overeaters Anonymous, and there's, you know, obviously AA, but and NA. But
what's the difference between like a therapist and like a psychologist or a counselor?
All I know is there are some people that can give you drugs and some people that can't. Like my therapist cannot give me drugs. If I wanted drugs, though, she could obviously refer me to someone.
Have you ever taken the drugs?
No. Once I went off of birth control, I didn't want to get on anything.
No,
because I wanted to just see what would happen.
You want to see like your blank mind, like at work. You didn't want to see any chemicals in it.
Correct.
So you never thought, like, even if your sister took Prozac, you never thought like, oh, maybe I'll take it because.
Yeah, no. One time I tried to take something, can't remember what it was, but it was, I didn't like it. Didn't like the effects of it. But it was an anti-anxiety because a lot of teachers go on anxiety medication.
Really?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because their jobs are very stressful. Like very stressful.
So there's a lot of teachers on antidepressants?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you go to, maybe not antidepressant, but anxiety specific.
Oh, okay.
If you like surveyed an entire school of teachers only, I'm sure it would be 80 to 90%.
Really?
That take anti-anxiety.
Do you think it's like regional, like maybe in LA or as opposed to
it could be, but
Colorado or something?
It's where they got the weed.
Yeah.
Maybe. It's possible.
Have you ever tried smoking weed to like help? No, you never.
I've never done any drugs.
No, nothing.
Yeah.
You never thought like to relax? Are you an anxious person at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
But you never thought to say like, hey, maybe I'll smoke this joint and hang out.
No, I tried once at the sorority. But I inhaled, nothing happened, and I was like, well, I guess that didn't work. And then I just moved on. I was like, okay, well.
It never works the first time, though.
I guess.
Yeah. But it's like the effects just cancel each other out, like Ritalin for people without ADHD.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've never done any drugs.
Do you like drinking?
I will drink. I don't drink all the time, but I'm definitely a cheap date. So.
Like what? Like a couple beers here and there?
It's like 2 drinks, and it's like, all right.
You're good.
I've had enough.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Because I'm pretty truthful after 2 drinks. And then I'm like, I gotta stop. I don't want to throw up in the morning or anything like that. So
yeah, the hangovers are what kill you.
They are.
You never taken like was it Xanax that you took for like the anxiety?
No, I can't remember what it was. I have no idea what it was, and I apologize.
I just told, like, it's funny because I didn't even go to a therapist. I just told my doctor, like, hey, sometimes I get anxiety. He's like, okay, take these Xanax, and I'm like, okay.
I did take one thing once, and it may have been a Xanax because it was like I was super stressed out at school, and I don't remember exactly what it was for because it was a long time ago now.
Yeah.
And I just remember feeling very foggy.
Yeah.
Like, and I just thought, this is not good. I don't like this. I feel like I can't see anything. Like this, no.
Oh,
we're
like
not
literally,
doing
like
literally foggy.
Oh, wow.
I was like, nope.
Oh, that would kill me. So like, but like high intense things, do you get anxious for like a Schmoedown or something, like going before?
Oh dear Lord.
Do you just like freak out and get anxiety and stuff?
Yes. Yeah. I go through the roller coaster of Schmoedown anxiety. What happens is this. I finally decoded what happens. So you get like a match that's like on the calendar, right?
Like months in advance or something. Yeah.
So like maybe you're in March and then it's like, hey, we're going to need you April 29th or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, going to be there. And then it starts. And then it's like, I got to study.
Yeah.
I need to study.
But can you study though?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
You can study. And I've a lot of questions I know the answer to because I've studied and not because I've seen the film.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah,
I've have that. You can.
Yeah. So then for like the next month and a half or so, you're just.
It goes into this cycle where it's like kind of dormant for a while. It's like, okay, everything's okay. I'm thinking about what I'm going to do for my entrance or what costume. I order the costume. Okay, great. It came. I try it on. Fabulous.
Yeah.
And then it gets a little closer, and then I start to study more, and then I start to like ignore my children, and then I start to like, I'm like, okay, this is not good. Like, and then I start to like think about like, I don't know, just I think about like, is this it? Am I going to quit now? Is this when I quit because I'm so stressed out? I can't take this anymore. Like maybe I shouldn't do this anymore.
Like quit before the match?
Probably after.
Oh, okay.
You know, like I'll be like, I'll make it through this, but then I got to quit. I got to stop after this.
Yeah.
Like but my life is a constant of I will do it and then I want to quit. And then I'll do it and then I want to quit.
Yeah,
you know, but it's like,
it's
okay, it's that thought of after this, I'm going to do it till then. And then I'm not going to do it anymore, you know, like, but it's like very stressful. And so I think about like, okay, how am I going to quit? And it's not that I want to, it's just, that's how I cope with the stress.
Like quitting?
Like thinking about, if I just quit, and then this will all go away, you know, like the stress.
That's your mentality. That's you saying no to everything.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
That is the coping.
Yeah.
So it's not that I want to quit. It's that's how I cope with the stress of the show, which is ridiculous. And then I'll do it and I'll be like, okay, that was great. That was fun. But I had a good time.
Yeah.
Even if I lose, even if I win, have a good time.
But at the end of the day, it's a YouTube show.
I know. That's what's hard. I take it very seriously because I want to be better than I was last time. I feel like as a woman, I have to prove myself every single time. So even if I have a bad match, like it's 10 times worse than if a guy has a bad match.
Like through the comments?
Yeah.
Just like, why do they pick Miss Movies?
She's
like,
dumb.
She doesn't know
she doesn't know anything. But if a guy misses it, it'll be like, oh, he's so funny. Next time he'll do it. You know, like.
Really? You think?
Yeah.
Oh, you've seen the comments?
I have seen them. Yeah.
You read a lot of comments?
I don't anymore. Like I've gotten very better at that. And I've tried to stay out of anything that has to do with it because it takes a toll on you, and then you think about it, and it's like, why am I thinking? Why is this taking over?
It's
my
random
life?
people on the internet that have nothing better to do. And
there's a lot of great people out there that are very supportive.
There's a lot in the Schmoeville people, the Schmoeville community. There's a lot that follow everything Schmoes Collider, and they just like cheer everybody on. Like they want to see everybody do their best and everything. Yeah. But
I try to not look at comments when I'm in it.
mm.
But sometimes I fail, and it's like, why did I do that? Why did I even look?
Do you watch the matches back?
I do. I watch the matches.
Yeah.
And yeah, because it's good to be up on, like, it's as a competitor and as a person that's part of the show, it's good to be up on the storylines.
Oh, yeah.
It's good to be up on, like, what people are doing. And I find that makes it more compelling for the audience.
Uh-huh.
Because if I'm not paying attention to what other people are doing and how well they're doing, then when it comes time for my match, like, I just need to be in the know and know who I would call out, or maybe I'm going to mention something that happened in another match.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like
when a team wins and they got the last answer incorrect, you got to know those things so you can give those jabs every now and then, right?
The best spins and yeah, that makes sense. Like, you have to like live in that world and just be a part of it.
Yeah.
You having fun?
I do.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I do have fun, and when I'm not having fun, that's when I'm like, I need to take a step back.
Yeah. Are you at a good point in your life right now?
I am, I think. It's more of I'm kind of at the precipice of, like, what do I really want to do? Because I just renewed my teaching credential, which is renewed till, like, I want to say 2020.
Oh, you have to renew it like
20,
every so years?
Yeah, 2025.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember when it was renewed till. I'll have to check that out. But I just renewed my credential. I haven't taught in a long time. I know everything's very different in teaching because it changes all the time, as it should.
Yeah.
And I love doing film therapy, and I love doing 6 Degrees of Feature Film with Stacey Howard. And I do those during the week on Wednesdays and Thursdays.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes I go on Screen Junkies. Sometimes I, am at other places, Geek and Sundry, Hyper RPG. And, like, I enjoy doing those things, but they don't make me any money.
Oh,
And it all costs me money.
Oh, yeah. To travel and to do all these, you're losing out on making money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And through hosting, it's like I'm kind of at the point where I need to either commit or quit. And so that's kind of an interesting saying, commit or quit, because I probably need to get a hosting agent at this point, because there's a lot of opportunities to host. And some of it is I can self-submit. And I find that if I don't do that, then, like, what am I doing all this hosting for?
Mm-hmm.
Like, all these classes for? Because I pay a lot of money for them. And at the beginning it was, I want to get better at what I do. I want to get better at my shows and the content I put out there. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to learn.
But what's the end game? Like, what do you see yourself doing, like 5-10 years from now?
Exactly.
You don't know?
That's where it becomes difficult, because I like building my brand.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ultimately, the ultimate goal, if I knew for sure I wouldn't fail, I would want to have, like, maybe a Twitch channel like Hyper RPG, or I would want to be, like, the person in charge of Screen Junkies, like the creator of that, like a network, creating a network, rather than hosting for someone else. Like, it would be great to host for Fandango or Rotten Tomatoes, who have merged now. But ultimately, I would want to have my own network.
What did you say? If you didn't know you would fail? Or
if I knew that I would not fail, no matter what I did.
Oh, okay.
That's what I would want to do.
But why do you?
It would be like, if you had $10 million, what would you do? Same thing.
If you had, like, free will with everything, or, like, if you had total control of everything.
Mm-hmm.
But why do you say it like that, though?
Because it was worded to me that way on a podcast that I went on called Putting in Work. And that's the last question he asks. And I was like, that's an interesting question.
But I feel
if you knew you wouldn't fail, what would you do?
But I feel like that's already setting up for failure.
Sure.
Because you're saying, like
if you knew you would be successful, what would you do?
I guess
100%,
it's the same thing.
100% successful.
Because that's also saying I don't want to try this because I could fail, or I don't want to try this because I think I will fail.
I guess
that's saying no again.
Once again, we're back to no.
Yeah, I don't know.
Always saying no.
Do Do you have anything else you want to talk about? I feel like I've like
I'm
asked you
telling you,
everything.
Kung Fu Panda 3 changed my life.
What's the saying again?
If you only do what you can do, you'll never be better than what you are.
So what? Are you going to try anything new recently?
Try anything new. So maybe I'll get a hosting agent and see what I can do with that, because I definitely could host for others on camera. I mean, and I would love to talk about movies on camera for pay. That would be nice.
That's the dream.
But at the end of the day, like, I want to be the one in control. I want to be the one that's building the brand rather than for someone else.
Yeah.
You know?
That's you. I mean, just do it. That's all you got to do. You just got to do
I
it.
just keep chipping away. That's what happens.
Got to not think you'll fail.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And with film therapy, I find that it's kind of a starter. Like, it's starting to gain that audience. Like, and Marky Costello always says, like, if you have a good concept and a good idea, people will come, and it's just going to take building it and keep going and keep building it. And
consistency with it.
Exactly. As long as you have that, then
people
will come to you. And I'm like, I feel like this is something, film therapy is something that people, that isn't in regular movie shows that you watch.
Oh no, yeah.
Because
it's like its own thing.
We're talking about like why film is important to us rather than like the logistics of film. Like, okay, who's the director? Okay, all right, who wrote the screenplay? Did this win any awards? Like all that surface level crap.
Yeah.
Whereas I want to be able to, at some point, go onto like a set or go to a junket or whatever and ask people the important questions about film and like, why are you here?
Yeah.
Like, why did you even want to get started in film? What is the film that brought you here?
And why are you creating this film? Yeah. I could see that. I could see you doing that. So 5 years from now, we'll see you doing that?
Sure.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see my brand, Miss Movies.
Well, where can people find you on the internet?
Oh, gosh, guys. You can find me at missmovies.net.
Oh, you have your own website.
That's where my entire network is. Yeah. You can find everything there. You can also find me on Twitter at Miss Movies. I'm doing better at trying to be on Twitter less.
You're on it a lot?
A lot.
Yeah.
So I just am trying to be less available on Twitter only because like I find like I'm checking it all the time. I was like, I'm kind of addicted to this. So I need to stop.
I
need to just let it
chill
go
out.
a little
bit. Stop looking at the comments.
Yeah. The thing with Twitter though is like you usually just get the good comments, and that's why it's hard. Because like when you get that notification, it's kind of like a little hug.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh no.
it's like praise.
Yeah. I mean, there are some D-bags that come around and are like, ugh. But
like, why is she on Schmoedowns?
Yeah. Oh, that's always fun. That's the other part about being a heel is then you can respond like in a bitchy way, and it's part of the character. Yeah, it's part of the character, man. But really, I really am this way. Like I'm not joke. Like a lot of that is not just character.
So you're really responding in a bitchy way.
Yeah, that's kind of like who's inside of me that I'm just trying to let out. Like the Schmoedown just lets that out. But I really do have that in me.
You ever get angry?
Yeah, but not like when you say angry, like
yelling angry.
Yeah.
Never got
sometimes.
Yeah.
When my kids are like downstairs yelling for me, and I'm like, I will be down in a second. You know, like.
So you do. Oh, okay, yeah. You do the mom yell from upstairs. Oh,
yes. Oh gosh. Yeah. Gotta do the mom yell. Then there's that anger of like, why can't they just for 2 seconds let me be up here and not be with them for 2 seconds?
Yeah.
It'll get there. Later they'll be like, I don't want to be around you ever.
And then you're gonna miss it.
I know. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you for talking to me. I hope you had fun doing this.
I did. Thanks. Yeah. So cathartic.
Yeah.
Didn't cry though.
I know.
Was I supposed to?
You don't have to.
Okay.
I don't.
Does everyone?
No, I've had 2 people do it.
Oh, good.
Emma, where you're sitting right now, Emma, that's where Emma cried.
Very good. Yeah. I can easily cry.
I mean, then it's like phony.
I mean, I can't phony cry, but like I can get. It depends on the question, but I can get there quickly.
Oh, I thought you meant like you can make yourself cry.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
Not really.
I don't know what makes you tick, so I don't really know. Like hers was relationships, but you're like, it seems like you're steady with your 2 kids and your husband.
You know, I've gotten to a point where I talk about suicide so much that like it's less emotional for me to discuss it, which is good because like I feel it's important to let people know that it's okay to talk about suicide and like,
when a lot of people
that suicidal thoughts, like they're not normal thoughts.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that until like way too late. So.
But I don't think it's ever too late where you can work on yourself.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're having them, like talk to someone, please. Talk to a doctor, talk to a friend, honestly, like I try to give that disclaimer, and I sometimes forget on film therapy, like I'm not a therapist. Yeah. So if you're having a problem right now, like call 911, go to your doctor, see someone.
Do you have like a group of friends like you can confide in or like hang out with?
I'm not really the friend type of person.
What do you mean you don't? Friend type? What's the friend type of person?
I don't really have a lot of friends.
Well, why not?
I don't know.
What do you mean? Like you purposely don't want to hang out with people?
I'm very much an introvert. Yeah. Yeah, in that regard. Like I like to be asked to go places, but I don't actually like to go places.
Oh yeah, I don't like to go anywhere either. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I could like stay home all day, I would stay home all day.
I mean, there are definitely people that that are in close proximity that I could call upon for support. And that would definitely listen if I had problems and stuff like that. If I were to move somewhere, I don't know if I'd still keep in contact with them. If that's what you know what I mean.
Yeah. So you're friendly with him.
Friendly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like a Stacey Howard isn't like your close friend, or is she?
Well, she is my co-host, so I see her weekly. And so, yes, I do confide in her.
Okay.
For sure.
But do you guys hang out socially? So I consider her a
friend. I've invited her to things. She's invited me to things. I don't always go. She doesn't always go.
But you have a friend.
I've got a friend in Stacey.
So you can be the friend.
I can
type.
have a friend. Okay, I can have one.
At least
maybe
one.
just one.
Yeah. Thanks so much for talking. Question: do you think Stacey would be on this show?
Of course she would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't know anything about her.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna ask her to be on.
You know what? I think she's gonna be around next week.
Oh, wait. What do you mean she's around? She doesn't live here?
No, she lives in Huntington Beach.
Ooh.
Yeah, but she'll be around next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk.
We'll hook this up.
All right. Thank you so much for talking to me. And anything else you want to say before we go?
Nope, that's it.
All right, let's get out of here. Let's go. That's it.
Is that how you end it? Let's go.
That's my sign off. Let's get out of here.
All right. Adios.